The Pittsburgh Foundation is stepping up to support our region's food banks and other social services charities that are struggling to meet demand this holiday season. The foundation has created a new community relief fund to take contributions. Grant Oliphant is president and CEO of the Pittsburgh Foundation. Welcome. Good to see you.
Bill, thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're relatively new at the helm of the Pittsburgh Foundation, and what a time to get the
Timing is everything. That's right.
Yeah. What sense do you get? I mean, we just heard from the food bank, but they're not alone in really meeting a significant challenge.
Actually, the food bank sadly isn't alone. We're hearing from frontline human service agencies around the county about a surge in need from families across the county, across the region, who are suffering not just in terms of food, but in terms of help with utilities, help with preventing evictions and foreclosures, making sure that they're warm during the winter months. And transportation is another issue. People getting to work and being able to afford getting to work is an issue in this environment. So it's a difficult time for the community. Probably the experts across the country that I've been speaking with describe it as probably the worst such situation in the social services arena in a generation.
In a generation. Yeah. So really back to, well, what Pittsburgh, I guess, saw in the 1980s seems to be happening all across America.
Well, that's the good news. The good news about Pittsburgh is we've done this before. And we know that our nonprofit community is stronger than the nonprofit community in most cities like ours and most communities like ours around the country. So we know how to adapt, we know how to react quickly, and we're seeing that. We had a group of folks joined the Pittsburgh Foundation the other day in convening a conversation about how the nonprofit community can respond to this crisis. And we had nearly 600 people show up at a very impromptu meeting and put their heads together about ways that they can bring in new money and make do with what we have. And that's the message right now, is one of trying to attract more resources, but also being as efficient as possible in the current environment.
Well, I remember I started here in Pittsburgh in 1982, in the middle of, in the wake of the collapse of the industrial economy. But it really was a remarkable time of people here all across the region pitching in kind of any way they could to sort of help weather that storm. It sounds like we kind of need that same sort of an effort today.
We really do. We really do. And we, as I said, in a way, that's the good news, because we've been here before. In our community, we do have a diversified economy. We have some strengths that a lot of other regions don't. But we still need help. And the message is one of overwhelming need at the moment. When we have three quarters of the agencies that were surveyed recently by our colleagues at the Forbes Funds, which has been participating at the front lines of understanding the problem, found that 3/4 of those frontline agencies are reporting that new families, first-time visitors, are coming to them for assistance. Now that means you have a lot more people in need than you have in a lot of years, and most of those folks don't know how to navigate the system. They've never had to.
Wow.
They're folks who are working, they are by and large gainfully employed or trying to be, but they've suddenly encountered a situation where they've been laid off, or whether they simply can't make ends meet because of surging prices in the economy and cutbacks on so many fronts. And it's difficult for the systems that are in place to respond. Now, I think part of the good news about Pittsburgh, too, is this is a tremendously generous region when it comes to helping our neighbors. And, there's probably no better place in America when it comes to people helping people, which is the idea behind this fund that the Pittsburgh Foundation is launching in concert with some other local agencies, such as the United Way, which we're collaborating with very closely on this. But we believe that the community steps up in times of need to help our neighbors. We certainly saw it in the case of when the community created a Hurricane Katrina fund. This time the crisis is here at home. This time the folks that need our help are here at home. And I'm confident that the community will step up.
Well, it's a challenge, and it also takes additional creativity, because as is always the case when need arises, it's typically a time when foundation assets are squeezed, corporations aren't making as much money, there's just less, I guess, disposable wealth, if you think of it that way, to pump into into times like this.
For the organizations on the front line, this is a triple whammy, because the first element of it is a surge in demand for their services, far outstripping what you would have otherwise. And the food bank's a perfect example of that. Huge increase in demand by folks who have usually frequented the food bank, but also by newcomers. And food is how can you get more basic than that?
And more expensive.
So that's one element. Then you have a second element of individual donations being down. Now, what's interesting about America is individual giving in this country has gone up every single year for 40 years, except for one when a change in tax code affected it. So even in times of recession, people are generous, but not necessarily in the period where uncertainty is at its peak. And since we're in an extended period of uncertainty, it's affecting, or looks like it likely will affect, individual giving, unless we're willing to come together in a concentrated way and challenge ourselves to give. And then the third element is that foundation assets, which would always be a place that organizations such as the food bank turn, are way down. And that means there is less money from foundations to give away. Add to that cutbacks in terms of government, and you have a perfect storm.
Wow! And so, if people want to pitch in, and hopefully everybody will, they can participate in the Community Relief Fund through the Pittsburgh Foundation.
Yes, and the easiest way to do that is to go to our website, which is pittsburghfoundation.org. And all the information is contained on the site, and we make it a very easy experience.
All right, Grant Oliphant, thanks so much.
Thank you, Bill.
Next up, Pittsburgh Social Venture Partners. Stay with us.